see a whole bunch of why are they able to test all the they're always able to test all the sewer water, so they could tell if they're getting the right dose of poison up into people because they test the sewer water, and they can really define it to certain areas. They can specify it to certain areas. But I'm not telling you to do anything illegal, y'all. But listen, the United States is illegal right now. It is broke up right now. Texas, let me give a shout out to my Texans. Y'all about to secede, or I already know you did, but just for the facade of you seceded now. Big up to all my Texans. That's why all the corporations were moving to Texas. Do you remember that, y'all? But where are your Intellis? Remember, like 2 years ago, all these corporations were moving up into Texas? Do you remember that? Right? Remember when they were all moving to Texas? We're like, why are all the corporations? You know why? Because they got the FYI, y'all. They knew that they were going to secede. So they got the bulletin. And I'm not telling you to move to Texas, but I'm just telling you, from my understanding, Texas already seceded. And they got their own cursing going on. And also, I heard word on the curb. That's from Alicia. I didn't get that phrase. That's from Alicia. Word on the curb is that Russia, the BRICS, and Mexico are all working together with Texas. So Texas already got his homeboys and homegirls working on their accord. And I heard word on the curb is that Florida is down as well. But I don't know. I could be wrong. You know what I mean? I'm just a maniac. Let me just say this again. I'm a maniac. This is a skit. This is a comedy. I'm not truthful. I'm a liar. I'm crazy. I'm mentally ill. I'm dummy. I'm stupid. You know, I just got to put that in there. I got to put these little things in here. Okay? Because, you know, when they come for me, I got to say, well, I told you it was a comedy skit. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you that. Anyway, so what I would say to everybody, I would be really mindful the radiation water. And literally when I heard China had a town where they were actually naming it, they called it asthma rain. And then the person tested it and found out it wasn't that the rain was causing asthma. It was the radiation in the water molecules causing the people's bodies to react as if they were exposed to radiation. So I just, you know, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, if you go out in the rain, I would cover up. Remember our old school our umbrellas? Oh, I loved it. I was a little girl. Remember our umbrellas were like, they looked like little, like clear colored, like they looked like you were in a little tunnel. Like, I forgot what they're called. Like, you know, remember our umbrellas, like I loved it as a little girl. I forgot what it's called. You know, our umbrellas were like little flutes. Like, they looked like they were bowed in. I have one in the car. You better put on them radiation rain suits. And don't you think it's odd that all these places were raining at one point? Now, listen. I also want to bring up the fact that during that whole time where California was getting tons of rain, there was a homeboy who was growing, was it apricots? No, it wasn't apricots. It was some sort of, it wasn't dates. It wasn't apricots. Was it apricots? I don't know what he was growing. I can't remember. Bubble umbrellas, VK. You remember that? I remember as a little girl. Remember that? I loved it. I got one in the car. Okay, so he was growing apricots, and he noticed that during the time or figs. I think it was figs. I don't remember, y'all. Anyway, he was in California at the time, and he said he went outside after it rained, and it burned. It had burn marks on his fruit. He said after it rained, like acid rain. You got to think what acid rain really is. Is it chemicalized rain, or could it be a form of radiation? Because radiation has kind of like, it had burn marks as well. So I'm just saying, y'all, listen, the radiation wheat, it's my opinion that they're radiating the food. And there isn't any way, because you know I'm a thickums. And I told you I'm getting in shape with my homeboy, who's going to work me out. Because I told you I'm going to listen to the men to work me out like G.I. Jane. I'm going to be G.I. Fleur Brun. He's going to make me do some calisthenics. Big up to him. Calisthenics. I can't do pull-ups yet. I'm at least do a couple pull-ups, okay? I'm getting in shape because I told you we gonna be like the purge. You could be running. Run, Fleur, run. You know what I mean? So I'm getting a shape for this, but there isn't any way that you should be able to lose 5 pounds of pure inflammation and water weight. There isn't any way. You know what I'm saying? How are you losing that weight? Because as soon as I stopped, you lost 30 pounds. Congratulations, Marshmallow. You're going to have to change your name, Marshmallow. You're not going to be Marshmallowy anymore. Big up to Marshmallow, who lost 30 pounds. Go ahead. Don't say lost. You shed. Because when you lose something, you always find it back. I learned that from words the other day, right? Be careful saying loss, because that means it could be found. You shed. Congratulations, Marshmallow. You shed it. Go ahead, Mama. Go ahead. Let's not forget the frog. Listen, I'm still a trans frog, but I'm gonna be translucent in a minute. You ain't gonna be able to see me. You know what I'm saying? Calisthenics is better to do. I think calisthenics in itself is better for the body, especially for women's sport. So, you know, forms of calisthenics, I'm a dancer. So, doing like Pilates gives you the best body, and dancing. Swimming is a great thing as well. I think for women, we gotta be very careful in how we engage with our body. In calisthenics, you actually build better muscle. It's like more long muscle, and it helps you burn. So I'll be doing that. You know what I mean? I gotta listen, y'all. I gotta try. You know, I'm thick, but I gotta be able. You know, it's cute to be thick when you can lie on the couch and just enjoy yourself. But when you got a little, you know, I gotta be a little quick. You know what I'm saying? I gotta be able to run up some stairs and get on a bike. So you know, being thick at a point when you know you going into war times, that isn't, you know, that ain't the right thing to do. So I just say that everyone be really careful with your water sources. I would really, because most people filter out their water with certain things, but are you filtering it out from radiation? Like, that's another conversation. We're going to have that conversation on Thursday on Zoom. Can you put that in the conversation? We're going to find ways to avert radiation that comes through the waterways. There's a way to do it. So I'm going to have to figure out what to do. We always figure it out. We got to figure it out. And also on Thursday, who's ever joining in, we're doing because we know on the 10th, they're probably going to do a ritual on the 10th and 11th. We're going to do our protection ritual with our candles. So whoever's joining us on Thursday, that's what we're doing. So just I'll have everything that you need to bring in, because we got to do that. Because listen, the 10th after last year, the kicking off the New Year's, and this is a dragon. Shungite, good idea. Nicole has a good idea. Shungite, that's right. Zombieland rule. You know, there's this guy does this. I don't know where he does it. I love this. You know, you guys see it all the time, right? They have these great classes. I like to dance. I love dancing. There's these dance. I think it's in Atlanta. You guys have the best. Let me big up to Atlanta, Georgia. I get jealous. Let me tell you. Can I confess something? I'm really jealous. Y'all have like the hair washers who like put the steam on your hair and the herb bath, and then you guys have the workout classes where these sexy guys are like doing dances, and you do like hip hop when you're doing a step. I get jealous of y'all. Did I ever tell you that? I am. I'm really jealous. I see it. I'm like, why the heck didn't I move to Georgia, for God's sake? Maybe because the men are, you know, and he was masculine. He just made you want to work out. You see him, like, some of you know what I'm talking about, right? When a guy makes you do the dances. Oh, also, back in the days when we had copper pipes and also silver pipes, that also averted the radiation in the water. Thank you. Some of you have some great ideas. Yeah, so whoever's in Atlanta, Atlanteans, y'all got some fun stuff going on over there. That's the only thing you know, we had some good stuff, but Atlanta people like to have fun. Yeah, you look real masculine, but I didn't say he was masculine. He just looked masculine. You never know. I mean, Atlanta got some things going on over there because they putting stuff in the water source. I talked about the gay bombs. Y'all get insulted. Look it up. See, the problem is that you think that I'm disrespecting you because you're a gay man. That has nothing to do with it. But if you found out the only reason that you're gay is because they weaponized water and chemicals to bring in that disposition within you in your mother's womb or outside the womb. So don't get mad at the messenger. I would sue the government. This is my personal thing. If you are a homosexual male and you live in Atlanta or places where you feel like your mother was being, or Flint, or your mother was being chemicalized and your disposition, I would, and mothers, if you have a gay son that's 20 years or a little, like up to 30, I would sue the government. Because I'm telling you that they have those things. They did them in Afghanistan. They did it in Vietnam. They did it in a lot of places. You just think I'm saying it to be disrespectful. It isn't the natural disposition for men to be with other men. That is a fact. It isn't the natural disposition. But when you have it at a heightened amount, like when a number is like boasted up out of the blue, you know that it is most likely being helped along with some form of bioweaponry. Just call, you can look it up. You can look at them and see what they've done. So you just really in itself, you have to understand there is an incentive to having men being with only other men. First of all, it's for population control, because they're not having babies, okay? And also, it makes men more feminine and less likely to protect their tribes or their neighborhoods or to protect their own children. So it just works for the government. So that's what I'm saying, them pushing it, you have to realize I'm not attacking any gay men, but I'm telling you, if it is working in accord with the agendas of the government, you gotta ask the question, why? Gotta ask the question, why? It isn't a natural propensity for men to be with other men. And also, if you look at the men that are very feminine, they have big bum bums, they have breasts. That means that they've been chemicalized as some sort of bioweapon that have actually changed their physicality. Men shouldn't have big bum bums. Even brown men, they have muscular bum bums. Listen, I grew up with men that are very masculine. Okay, so our men in the parks, like when they used to play basketball or sports or football, they had nice, round, bums, but very masculine, like very muscular. Like thighs were muscular. Woo! I love growing up in Generation X, y'all. We used to go to the park, and that was like a buffet. Woo! Thank God my parents raised me with some ethics, boy, because the men used to have no shirts on. It smelled like pheromones. You just, oh my God, as a young teen girl, boy. It was like, big into Generation X, when we used to go to the park, when guys used to play sports outside without their shirts. Holy, especially you beautiful brown men. Y'all are like, I love y'all. You just the most beautiful men in the whole wide world. You are. Looking at y'all in your prime. The smell of your pheromones, you coming all glistening, you know what I'm saying? Your stomachs were rock hard, shoulders all nice and stern, your legs, sometimes you got that basketball, some of you used to have bow legs. I'm sorry, y'all. Call me a little, I miss those days. I'd call me what you want. That's why when you call me a lesbian, I'm like, you just don't know. Sitting there watching, as a young girl, I didn't even know what my body was going through when I smelled y'all playing sports. Like we would just go and sit and watch sometimes on the bleachers while y'all was smelling like y'all playing basketball, and just hearing you like, the sneakers like sketching on the court, watching you jump and seeing the sweat glisten down your back. Woo! And I know my Luna girlfriends too. You remember the guys used to play hockey and stuff? Listen. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. If there's children on here, I apologize. I was just having a flashback. I don't know. I don't even know if you guys see that. Do you guys see that anymore? Maybe I'm not in that age range. Do you guys actually see Fleur Brun after dark? Do you guys actually see men play basketball like that anymore? Is that happening still? Because I grew up in Mount Vernon. It was at Hartley Park. Anybody see that anymore? No? Oh, darn. Well, we had the best childhood. Listen, y'all. We had specimens. That's why they had to feminize our men, because they were just like the best specimens ever. Woo, boy. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, let's change the topic. I can't. Hormones, you know. Oh my God. Anyway, so we're talking about the water and all of the actual infiltration. So I'd say this. I would be mindful, and I love some of the suggestions that everyone stated on here to try to avert from the radiation, but I really challenge you, because I could be wrong. It's my opinion. I could be wrong. I would test your water for not just chemicalization or you know, forms of like mold. I would really test for certain kind of molds as well. You can do testing for that. I would test things. And also for those who are still engaged in eating all kinds of things that come from silos, like rice, you should be washing your rice. You already know your beans. You should be washing. Oats are the most toxic because they have oats. That's why you have a lot of infiltration with oats. Oats have a lot of especially spores, because they get a lot more moist. So oats, you got to be careful too. So I just would be careful with a lot of the things that are in silos. Pay attention to that. Also for your little ones. Mommies, for those of us who had little ones, make sure that with your little boys, we suggested this, with little boys, you have to make sure we don't let them have certain kinds of water bottles or things that have a lot of estrogen. Make sure that they're eating things kind of like, because with boys, because of the way that they're set up, make sure like if you're doing a meat, doing it from a more holistic place, farms that don't give their animals soy. It's very important, more than anything for boys, to make sure that your sources of meat for them and eggs are coming from sources that aren't engaged with soy. You can purchase them. They're going to cost you a little bit more, but you're going to have a very masculine little boy growing up who's going to have natural propensities. And don't let the educational system feminize your son. The fact that he doesn't want to sit in a chair all day, please don't label your children as ADHD, as not being able to sit still. A natural, healthy boy doesn't sit still in class for 8 hours. Doesn't need it. And then glass bottles. Thank you, A2. Glass bottles I bought glass bottles when I was pregnant. Glass bottles for the babies are great, because if you're nursing, it's fine. But make sure, even nursing moms, you have to refrain from eating things with soy, because that soy leaches into your milk. So make sure if you're nursing as well, you think that you're safe. You filter, your breasts filter out most of the milk, but you want to make sure that you're also getting proper nourishment that's soy-free while you're nursing, especially little boys. Okay? So make sure you're doing that. And definitely everybody needs to get their iodine up to par. You could test your iodine. We talk about it all the time in Zoom. That's important for you to do. Paying attention. Okay, if you want little masculine little boys, then you have to, as moms, you cannot go to Walmart and expect to get your children healthy food from Walmart. Okay, Walmart is the biggest pimp pusher of soy. Okay, so going to Walmart because it's cheaper, it's going to be more expensive overall when you have little children that have other issues. Okay, skin issues, hair issues, that has a lot to do with the weaponized food. And you can go and source out meat places, go to farms. I know they're attacking the Amish. If you have access to Amish farms, save up your money. Stop buying like clothing from Temu. We talked about the nanofibers in a lot of these cheap clothing. You guys are going to like Temu, Shen. You know what companies, those are coming from Xinhua. Why would you buy any clothes from China? You shouldn't buy anything that's sourced from China. They have nanoparticulates in the actual fiber of the clothes. And please do not put non-organic fiber on your little boys. I'm telling you, moms, someone said they can't afford it. Yes, you can. You listen, as mothers, it is the natural directive of us as parents to want the best for our offspring. That's your future. That's your grandbabies. You take the time, like, oh, maybe you can't do certain things, but that's not the point. But you make sure your son will be healthy and your daughter's healthy for the long term, so your grandbabies are healthy. You remember, your little girls are carrying their eggs. So remember, us as mothers, when we carry our little girls, we carry 2 generations. I carry my daughter and I carry my grandchildren because she has her eggs. You have to make sure that the girls are healthy. They aren't doing weed and all that stuff. Weed is why most men are actually feminine, actually now. They chiefing all the time, and chief is a feminine plant. They're taking all that, and it's causing health, and their wands aren't working. Listen, I talked to a mom the other day. Her 17-year-old boy has problems having a full-on erection. Now, you say, why does a mother? Of course she would know that because her son is concerned for his health. He goes to the doctor and the doctor's not telling him, he's not telling him, don't put your laptop on your lap. Don't put your cell phone. The doctor is another form of mind control programming agenda. He's not going to tell you the things to do. A lot of these young boys are putting their cell phones and their laptops on their genitals. And it's causing problems. And then if they took the Kukarachi shot, it causes circulation issues. So it's not going to get all pumped up like normally with blood because there's a lack of circulation. A 17-year-old boy shouldn't have an erectile dysfunction. He shouldn't have ED. And a lot of men are getting it younger and younger because they are eating soy, latent food. They're taking a lot of these drugs, these painkillers, all of these type of weaponized drugs over the counter. So it's causing nerve damage and also circulation issues. It's very important. Like, I shouldn't be like, this is why I say, be careful the people you go online. You don't hear men talk about that. You'll hear men talking about doing drugs, mushrooms, taking more drugs, smoking more chief. They're proud of it, but they don't tell you that their women are, listen, their women are dissatisfied sexually. I talk to some of the women of some of these men online who tell you to do mushrooms and tell you to do all this marijuana and smoke online. A lot of them can't even get their Johnsons up. Their wands aren't working. They won't tell you that though, but the women will tell us. We have to stop. We have to stop uniformly promoting drug use. Drug use is why a lot of our youth are mentally ill and they're physiologically aren't as strong as their grandfathers are. So when you keep pushing a culture of marijuana and pushing a culture of all these psychedelic drugs, they don't tell you that when you do all this ashwagandha, what's that stuff? Not ashwagandha. What's the stuff they do? Oh God, that psychedelic thing they do. I forgot what it's called. What is it called, y'all? You know the psychedelic thing they did? I mean, I got attacked. Ayahuasca. Thank you, Yafi. They don't tell you that doing those things long term cause ayahuasca. Like, you'll tell people will promote it all over the place, and then they don't tell you that years later people are suffering from mental illness, or that sometimes what it causes is like an opening into the orifice part of their brain that ends up making them depressed later on. A lot of these people keep promoting it. I would just question any channel that is promoting constant drug use. It's very sad. Ayahuasca wasn't intended to do regularly. And also, the fact of the matter is, it was an invitation that the plant kingdom would give to you, not you to it. So you have a lot of this whole culture of drugs, but they don't tell you, like the men are not telling you the genitalia is not working. Their wives are telling you. They're pushing for all kinds of men to have multiple women when they aren't able to satisfy one. Men don't even know the difference between giving a woman an orgasm and not. That's really sad. Back in the days, a man would know if we had an orgasm because he could feel it. And it wasn't just in the way that we acted, because a lot of women could fake the funk. It was the way that we put off an energy so he could register it, because he was in tune with himself. His higher mind was working. A lot of men are having sex out here, and women are, why do you think a lot of women want to be with other women? Because they're not having orgasms. I'm sorry. I hope there's no children on here, but it's a fact. You know, so men, I'm just telling you, like, women, we got things going on too, but men, really, what's going on also with y'all is that you've got to be more connected to yourselves spiritually. Because if you are young now, yeah, you're 20 something now, you may be working, but when you get to like 35 and 40 and your Johnson doesn't work, a lot of men commit suicide because they used to always having this facade of masculinity and using their wand as a tool to prove that they're masculine. When your wand stops working, you don't even know who you are anymore, because that's been the only perimeter of your masculinity. That's the only measure of who you are as a man. And then when it stops working, a lot of men want to commit suicide. And a lot of the suicide rate is really spiked right now because the Kukarachi shot had really caused inflammation and caused circulatory issues, and a lot of men's Johnsons aren't working. You know it's true. The C-stars on here know, because we talk. And it's unfortunate because men won't go and get help because they're embarrassed. And this is something we need to discuss. Fathers, discuss this with your sons. Mothers, discuss this with your husbands and your sons. It's very important. Our health matters. And if these are conversations that you feel really uncomfortable having, don't have children. Don't have children. Don't bring children into a world if you're uncomfortable having a basic conversation of their sexual health. You know what I mean? That's important. I think it's important. Like those are conversations we all have to have. And because we're in an environment of toxicity, women also are having fibroids. They're having issues with their periods. Menses is coming. It's not coming. A lot of women are having issues as well, and it's because of this radiation and all of the chemicalization of foods. We can't just go out and have like a hamburger and fries anymore and be like, oh, we could just do that every other day and we'd be okay. It isn't like that anymore. The hamburgers and fries are all tainted with all kinds of stuff. Like the way that we used to have fun or have food, like we used to, that those days are over. You have weaponized food that are being weaponized and grown and distributed by hostile foreigners who are basically killing off your reproduction. And it's affecting not just men, it's affecting women. And it's important for us, like if you like certain foods, make it all yourself, make it from scratch. Like we were talking about chocolate. If you like chocolate, I like chocolate only, when I get my menses. Like that's the time that I crave it. It's the only time I crave it. Make sure you make it yourself. It's so easy to make it with like cacao, you can make it and you can make it yourself. Make a lot of the things for your boys. If mommies, if you have sons, take the time to make everything from scratch. Like our grandmothers did, our mothers did. It's very important because we're going to have children that are really depreciated and won't be able to reproduce and give us grandchildren. And then you're going to regret that this conversation wasn't had. It's very important. You know what I mean? And because a lot of these channels, all of the things that are being pushed into the algorithm, that we're hearing all of these things, but all these channels that are unwavered and are being pushed, they are controlled opposition. They're controlled opposition. A lot of them, that's why you won't hear certain things. They won't ever talk about, and that's why I say I love men. The fact that you say I love men, I love functioning men. A young man should be functional, and you should want your males to be happy and thriving. If you aren't having these conversations and you're just going to Walmart or the grocery store and getting basic, a lot of starch food, males do well, like even more paleo. Like if you want to get away from grains, like the same way I buy my dogs grain-free food, grain-free, why would we eat grains when it's being weaponized? You can go and get fresh Amish meat or meat sources that I've given before. I won't give them before. You can look them up. Places that are not, they're not putting vaccines in their stock of meat. They're not putting steroids in their meat. They aren't feeding their cattle corn and soy. If you're eating any food meat source and feed them corn and soy, which is all of your Walmart meat sources, that is going to translate between when you consume it and what it does to our bodies. And I told you what it did to mine. Like just the fact that they're putting coffee when you go and get your coffee, and if you don't get a full bean and they're not watching for mold or for pesticides, a lot of the coffee is causing issues. So I had an issue, an allergy to the coffee based on the fact that it was already ground. It probably ground out with bugs and whatever have you, and chemicals and mold. Yeah, what happened? We used to go to the butchers. Remember back in the days, the West Indians still do that. Like if you go to like West Indian neighborhoods, Spanish, a lot of them, like in Brazil, we go to butchers. A lot of the time when you go to the grocery store in Brazil, the supermarkets in Brazil, they all have the butchers in the back of the store. So you generally will go, like even with Colombia was like that. Colombia, Mexico, I think is like that too. So it's very important. Oh, the graphene oxide. Oh, Jennifer's already getting, the graphene oxide is in meat as well. Yeah. And there's a way to get that out though. I found a way to do that. Halal stores are good as far as making sure the meat isn't unhealthy spiritually or traumatized. But halal doesn't take in consideration, chemical free and so on. So halal does certain things, but it doesn't mean it's organic or soy free. So it's like, be careful. You have to ask. You really have to ask. And a lot of times they don't know. If they don't know what the feed is, then obviously you shouldn't be purchasing it there. We have to be the change we see in the world. If you and yourself, you say to yourself, I want better. We have to do it. We can't expect, like, you can't expect your teacher to teach your children values and morals and ethics. You can't expect your teachers to teach your children facts. They are weaponized social systems of MK Ultra. They are only going to teach the core. It's not like the teachers back in the days that would give you core and then they give you opinion. They bring in some of the things that they liked, and some of them. That isn't the case anymore. Schools are weaponized with socially engineered information totally to make your children into drones and worker bees. Okay? That's their total motivation. The only education that should truly be of value is what you give to your own offspring. Whenever my children know things about historical accounts, I teach them that. That isn't a responsibility for the teacher to teach my children anything. It's my responsibility as a parent to give them information. That's how you chronologically give information generation to generation. If you allow others, especially hostile people who don't like your nationality, who don't like your color, who don't like your people, to teach your children, then you are basically teaching children. That's why a lot of men don't mate people who look like their mothers anymore. Because they've weaponized the system to make men attracted to those that are the opposite and also come from weaponized backgrounds. So now you have men mating with women that are genetically hostile, mating with genetically hostile cellular memory type of women, and those children will come out to hate themselves. So it's important for, even in the mating, like the perpetuation of who should mate with who, that should come from you. And mommies, when we're healthy and we're happy and we tell our sons that we love them and we give them kisses and hugs and tell you how we value them, you know who they're going to choose when they get married? Do I have to tell you? Do you have to tell you? My brother chose his wife, and she looks almost like my mom. My cousins chose wives that look like my aunties. When you treat your sons well and you value them and you care about their feelings and you don't just tell them, I pay the bills in here, that makes them feel like they're not valued. Like that, especially in the hood, when you tell them that they're not paying the bills, that you make them feel like they aren't valued. You have to give the love to your boys. A lot of moms are very abusive to their boys, especially in the hood. And these boys go out and get women that look the opposite of their mothers. And that has a lot to do with how the women show value of themselves in the household, and also how the women aren't showing and displaying love to their sons. And, that translates. And mothers, if your sons are getting with women that look the opposite of you, everything the opposite, it says something about you. It says how he feels about you, how he feels, how you raised him, how you gave him love. I'm not saying it's in every case scenario, but my loner girlfriends, they choose men that are very similar to their fathers, like I did. I choose men that look very similar to my father. I love my daddy. I love the way my dad looked. I love my family. I love my complexion. I love my hair texture. I love